Aloha. My name is Joshua Hathaway. We are the Human Thriving Project. And the Human Thriving Project is a vision of embodying the I am and the we are in perfect harmony in our lives and as communities through embracing conscious, holistic, embodied leadership. And I just want you to imagine what it would be like to live in a community of conscious, holistically embodied leaders. What it would be like to live in a community which really supports every individual's sovereignty, genius, and unique capacity to lead and unique range of leadership, while holding equally valuable and valid the dimension of the we, our coherence, our harmony. Not more important, not less important, equally important. I am, we are. At all times, these things are equally true. This is the balancing of this tug of war that happens in the dualistic world of culture and consciousness. This against competition thing. The I and the we are competing against each other somehow. That's just the way it's always been, and the universe was designed that way from the beginning. Oh man. The things we believe that we tell ourselves are hilarious. So I'm here, right here, at Highland Soul Sanctuary, my home space, and the regenerative community that is in its nascent beginnings, but is so filled with fertility and potential. There are literally thousands of starts waiting to be put in the ground here. There are dozens of fruit trees, bare root fruit trees, ready to be potted for the season. There are building projects to be done. Wherever we look, we've been opening up the forest and opening up space for our gardens and milling all of that wood to be used right here on the land for our regenerative designs of a resource stewardship that is careful about the impact we have and outrageously innovative and loving and creative about how we experiment into living more regeneratively, more holistically with the land and with one another as a community of collaborative, conscious, holistic, embodied leaders. Holistic leaders are never in competition with anyone or anything, because holism bridges the gap between the two, always in antagony with each other, and realizes the sphere of the we that binds the two together in harmony at all times and in all places, whether we are perceiving it and collaborating with that harmony, or whether we're not perceiving it and we're actually damaging that harmony with our behavior at any given moment. Holistic leadership does not pedestalize any leader or expect anyone to be perfect. Holistic leadership does not deliver top-down hierarchical commands of any kind. Holistic leadership does not conscript people into doing what the leadership desires. It does not leverage any form of force against people. but only honors and welcomes those who, by their free will, would like to collaborate, to come and collaborate. And I am here to cultivate and live in a community of conscious leaders who can practice together the things that we must practice to become the even more consciously embodied and holistically collaborative versions of ourselves that are available to come online to meet the times that we live in and the circumstances of our collective story. And I think it's important we sync up about what we mean by conscious leaders. I think it's important that we have a shared litmus, because if we don't have an agreement about what that means, then we can't actually collaborate on it. It's like we ain't talking the same language, then it's going to be real hard to get anything done together. So I am proposing as a starting point for those who are also interested in living in a community of conscious leaders together, collaborating on behalf of humanity and on behalf of the generations to come, to innovate and to pilot a culture that is holistically designed. If you're one of those people, then I want to invite us to consider these as a starting point together. And I didn't write them. It's the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leaders, written by Jim Deathmore and who else? Deathmore and two other women collaboratively wrote this book under the guidance of Gay and Katie Hendricks. And I have been in the leadership sphere and the human development sphere, and I've been in these spheres for 25 years. I've been really actively participating in the cutting edge of a lot of these movements, and I've never found a set of agreements that I find more complete and to the point, and a set of agreements that I believe if we all chose to live by, and I don't care who you believe in or what you call God, I care about how you behave. I care that we're behaving in a loving and conscious manner together. And that's what a conscious leader is first committed to embodying in themselves. And so I want to read these 15 commitments out, and I want to spend a moment with each of them, because I am calling in my tribe. I'm calling in the people who are resonating with this vision, who want to be in at the beginning of a very special project and experiment that we are going to document as deliciously and beautifully, and that we're going to tell the story of as beautifully as we can as we go along, fumbling our way towards something more beautiful than what we've inherited. And we got to start somewhere. And these are the commitments of conscious leadership, and there are holistic dimensions to them that will be added, that are a unique part of our stew over here. But huge thanks to those who authored this work and who are teaching this and very successfully supporting organizations all over the world and becoming more conscious and building more conscious agreements into their culture. And so I want to go through a quick read of the 15, and we might not even make it through all 15 today. But I want to go through a quick read, and then I want to share the actual agreement with you. Because each one has a unique piece to contribute to a whole way of relating to one another, and a shared sense of commitment to a higher purpose that we're all accountable to, rather than just being accountable to our own personal version of what that means. And so the 15 commitments are, number one, a commitment to radical self-responsibility. Number 2, a commitment to curiosity, to living in curiosity. Number 3, a commitment to feel our feelings all the way through. To feel our feelings all the way through using our body and breath. Number 4, a commitment to candor, which is the art of speaking your unarguable truth from an open heart. Number 5, gossip. Ending gossip. We end gossip as conscious leaders. We do not contribute to gossip of any kind. Number 6, integrity. The ability to make conscious agreements, to fulfill on your conscious agreements, to renegotiate when that agreement is not going to be met in the way that you made it, and to clean it up when you have made a mess of an agreement and not fulfilled it as stated. So simple. Integrity. The 7th agreement is a commitment to appreciation, to gratitude, to appreciating and savoring. The 8th is a commitment to living in our own personal zone of genius and not trying to go occupy someone else's zone of genius. Just living in our genius and finding ourselves in an ecosystem where other people's genius fill in and we get to collaborate. Number 9, a commitment to play and rest at a pace and on a rhythm that is conducive to our creative thriving. Play and rest. This is what conscious, holistically embodied leaders commit ourselves to. The 10th is to be open to the opposite of my story being equally true. To know what my story is versus my unarguable truth, and to be open to other stories being just as true or more true than my own. How about that? Number 11, a commitment to inner self-approval, to not seeking approval from others, but to source my approval from my inner integrity and from my ability to meet my universal human needs and to recognize everyone as doing their best to meet their universal human needs. Number 11, a commitment to enoughness, radical enoughness. I almost wrote a book called Radical Enoughness. I've got all things somewhere. Radical enoughness. We need radical enoughness, and conscious leaders don't get caught in scarcity. We embody enoughness. Number 13, allies. You see everyone as your ally and every situation as the ally of your evolution, growth, development, and joy. The ally of love in your life. Every situation is your ally to evoke even more love. You don't see enemies anywhere. You're not competing with anyone for anything. A conscious and holistically embodied leader is committed to the win for all. To the win for all. Not just even a win-win. The win for all. Taking all of the nested systems into account and doing the thing that is the greatest win for the greatest number. And 15, last one, kind of wraps you back around to the beginning. Being the resolution in the world that you see is needed. Being that resolution, not trying to fix it out there, but being the embodied resolution of that which you see as needed, but nobody else is doing in a way that meets your own needs or standards. So you be that. Yeah. That's a quickie on the 15 commitments of conscious leadership. And I'm going to be hosting an ongoing weekly dojo. Every Wednesday from 4:30 to 6:30 is where we have it now on the calendar. That is subject to change. But every Wednesday, 4:30 to 6:30 p.m., we're going to spend 2 hours as a community cultivating our capacity for conscious, holistically embodied leadership. And a lot of what that looks like is slowing down and practicing the basics of personal nervous system regulation and remaining regulated with one another while we discuss in a conscious way topics which are difficult for us to discuss. From our own personal conflicts in our personal relationships to the larger conflicts that are afoot in the world. And we're going to practice feeling our feelings. We're going to practice deeply listening to the body and tonality of another human. We're going to practice connecting with our deepest and universal needs and understanding our needs as the fundamental soil from which all of these possible strategies actually sprout. We're going to practice making clear, doable, positively construed requests. And we're going to practice learning how to respond to others who are bringing aggressive or conflictual language into play or a behavior into play. How to have a firm grounding underneath our feet in a regulated nervous system, and how to gracefully and lovingly respond rather than react in a defensive or a frozen or a fawning way. We are learning how to ground our nervous systems in the presence of conflict, because that is essential to the cultivation of all of our holistic leadership. And we do this in the body, we do this with our voice, we do this with our beliefs and thoughts, we do this as we interact with others. It's a space where we practice certain basic skills, including empathy, so you'll get time, just one-on-one with someone, to practice the art of listening empathically, to do it differently. And a lot of these are just the basics of nonviolent communication. And I think it's important to remember that we go to the dojo to practice. This is the Holistic Embodied Leadership practice group. It's a help group. We're here to practice. So when I am studying Kung Fu and I go to the dojo, I get down in my horse stance and I throw the same punch that I've thrown 1,000 times before, another 100 times before the class is over, as a way of practicing becoming better. And as I progress, I learn combinations of forms and ways to practice combinations of movements that embed that responsiveness into my body. But I'm not expected, when attacked on the street, to go into a form of some kind. That's not the point. But most people mistake the forms practice for the fruits of the practice. But you can't get really good at really healthy, holistic communication unless you're in the dojo consistently. And you may feel like, well, you mastered that a long time ago, and if you do, then maybe you need to review our commitment to curiosity and to being a learner. And maybe there's something new for you there. And if not, please go carry on. But this is a space where we're going to practice living in these commitments, where we're going to practice together embodying these commitments and bringing the challenges of our life into view from these very beautiful tools and elegant tools. And in conscious leadership, we are constantly invited to be aware of this notion of whether we are above the line or below the line. As a conscious leader, above the line is, from my perspective, holistic leadership. Leadership from love. It is open, it is trusting, it is collaborative. It is creative, and it is attuned and listening. When we're below the line, we're in the region of fear. We're in the region of feeling threatened, getting defensive, counterattacking, competing with somebody to be right, not curious. We are in the dualistic, antagonistic world of fear. So we're learning how to really set a clear center of gravity within ourselves, which is above the line. But there's a lot of parts of ourselves that go below the line. We're all susceptible to below the line moments, to being under-resourced in one way or another. And when any of us as leaders is below the line, our first priority is to get back above the line before we go leaking our below the line behavior into our field of influence. If I am contracted, if I am in fear, if I am defensive, if I am blaming somebody for something, if I am judging and projecting my stories as though they're true, if I am in denial of my feelings in any given moment, I'm below the line. And I am going to damage whatever I touch from that place of fear. But if I am willing to pause, I'm willing to acknowledge, I got triggered, I got out of my center. I'm out of my center right now. If we're willing to admit it to ourselves first and embrace whatever we're feeling here, not try to get up and out, but to embrace the feeling of anger, sadness, fear, joy, or sexual feelings. In one of those categories, there's a feeling here. And feel that feeling. Then I'm on my way to moving through the emotional blockage and getting back above the line into the field of holistic leadership and love, instead of this dualistic hierarchical leadership thing down here. That's the fundamental move. And we're here to practice noticing finding all of the evidence that we need in all the different fields of our experience, from sensations to emotions to thoughts to words that come out of our mouth to posture and behavior with our body, things that we do, feedback we're getting. All of these things are feedback, life's feedback mechanism, helping us see whether we're above the line or below the line. And when we live above the line as conscious leaders, taking full responsibility for our lives and our impact as creators in the world, not victims, and sensitive to the field, attuned, curious, playful, we become unstoppable forces of love. And when we cohere together as groups and communities of people equally committed to this level of radical personal responsibility, with no buts allowed, mistakes plenty, but and the whole point of this is to really be clear about when we've hit the mark and when we've missed the mark. When we're aiming at this radical self-responsibility, but the moment I start to blame somebody, I miss the mark there. Doesn't mean I'm not personally responsible. It means that behavior was not actually a personally responsible behavior. And I can go 150 days without gossiping with somebody, but maybe one day I do unconsciously get caught up in a moment of gossip. I got to admit that to myself and to others in order to get even better. But if I claim that I hit the mark when I missed, that is where we run into an inability, a roadblock in our evolution and growth. We must have a high standard and be willing to miss it a lot and just admit to ourselves when we do, and to others, and to clean it up. We know we are going to do this imperfectly. We're here to do it imperfectly together and to buoy and bolster each other in our capacity to embody these values and principles in every conversation we have. To imbue our sense of purpose in life with this sense of integrity, genuine integrity. And to move into our communities as an agent of this kind of integrity. Because our communities are so divided right now. So divided. And the key to unifying is to reconcile. And so what was once called the Truth and Reconciliation Dojo is now rebranded as the Holistic Embodied Leadership practice. Because I want to help, and we're all going to be needing help to get better. If you think you've done enough already, okay. If you think you can't learn anything more, okay. I know I can learn more after 25 years. I'm just a baby, just a beginner. Just a beginner. So if you want to come practice with us, please send me your email and I can put you on the calendar. We've got a whole calendar of thriving happening in this space, right here, in this gorgeous space for my local Sierra Foothills, Nevada City, Grass Valley people, and for my global community who will be broadcasting it out to continuously. We are here as a resource for conscious, holistic, embodied leaders to come and practice these skills. On Tuesday mornings from 7 to 8:15, we have a embodied somatic self-love practice that involves Qigong and all kinds of regenerative somatics that have been a part of my journey as a holistic practitioner and therapist for a couple of decades almost. And out of the traditions of Shaolin Kung Fu and Taoist mysticism, primal movement, ecstatic dance, so many, and the gene keys are an important part of that transmission as well. So many beautiful lineages come together in this practice. And the Thursday morning, 7 to 8:15 a.m. session is called Fit for Love. And that is a high intensity, a holistic intensity practice, We are doing plyometrics, slow, getting the real negative on the plyometrics and staying deep in our breath. We're pushing our bodies in the level of intensity, but not speed. We go very slow through the workout. We're moving at the pace of our body's capacity, very slowly and carefully and with full breath, to be able to practice experiencing a nervous system where your heart is pumping and you're feeling all these difficult sensations, and remaining grounded in love and remaining open as a channel to express the emotion that's coming through as emotion with your body and your sound and your breath. So we're getting in there in our push-ups and our pull-ups and our squats. It's an incredibly powerful practice for just wringing out your nervous system and giving you a big reset. It's like therapy and exercise and meditation and spiritual practice all really wrapped into one. That's rooted in coming home again and again and again to the breath. Because a conscious leader is a conscious steward of her breath. She's a steward of our breath, the breath of the community, the breath of the we. And that's one of the fundamental practices of the regenerative approach to reconciliation, we recognize that keeping a regulated nervous system is fundamental to making any progress in the direction of reconciliation, where we must, in order for the reconciliation to be complete, bring things up which really activate our nervous system, which pull on our trauma, and which compel us to react. If we're going to be available for repairing the damage in our relationships, we have to be willing to hear things about ourselves, about somebody else's experience of us, that brings up all kinds of feelings: grief, anger, shame, guilt, fear. We have to be willing to feel those feelings consciously and not let them pressure us into reacting to what we're hearing in a way that would damage the precious fabric of communication and connection, so that we together can hold the ouch in either one of us. We can hold that pain together. And so we're cultivating that kind of nervous system in everything we do here. We're breathing together. Aloha, say the Hawaiians. Aloha means love. Aloha at the beginning, to say hello. Aloha at the end, to say a hui ho, farewell. Aloha all the way through. Love, which literally means in their language, the presence of the breath, or to share the breath. Aloha means the presence of breath. And that's the fundamental unit of our conscious leadership. Coming back to a regulated, easy, deep and loving breath. This is a custom of our culture here in the dojo. It is a custom of our culture here at Highland Soul Sanctuary, that we breathe together more often than anybody you know breathes together. Just throughout the day, we're not trying to go places through Wim Hof, intense breathing. We're just greeting each other with breath. Pausing to breathe in the moment together, to be with how we feel, to connect at a transverbal level before we get into words and agendas. Whenever we notice an interaction coming up above the baseline ease that we all want to feel when we are connecting with someone, we can invite the breath to hold whatever that feeling might be that's popping in. This is my vision of a community of conscious leaders who are slowing down the pace of life to the pace of connection and love, and economizing in all kinds of different ways in our lives, pooling our resources to be able to cook fewer meals and eat better home-cooked food consistently. That we're working together in the gardens and on the building projects. That we're tending to our needs as a community, our actual needs as a community. And that we're radiating out and growing the mycelium of our culture in our community through alliances and hosting beautiful events and supporting other communities. This is best case scenario, to live in a community that we feel deeply aligned in values and behavior. There's a whole lot of communities that are aligned in values that are not aligned in behavior with those values or with each other. This kind's about behavior. if we are following these commitments together, and they are a fabric that make up a whole. We can't just follow one. They're all beautiful bullseyes of conscious, holistic, embodied leadership that we get to aim our lives at every day and just be honest with ourselves when we miss. And forgive me for belaboring this point, but I find it so often missed by people in our culture today who are in a hurry to get results they're not willing to slow down and work for. And we cannot buy results in relationship. There's no one we can pay to make our relationship better. No pill we can take. You can try your ketamine and your ecstasy all you want. It's your time and your energy, your care and your attention that will be the investment that makes the difference in your health and your relationships above all others. You can align all the other forces, all the supplements and all the right diet. You can align all kinds of things. But if you are not consistently putting the time and energy into taking care of and cultivating this body and the relationships that matter to you consciously, and building the capacity to do that, and in a community of people who are accountable to that commitment together, then your results are going to reflect that. I think we're all going to get better results by doing it together. And guess what? Like, you don't have to pay me anything. Come. Please. Your money is not the arbiter of your participation. Your commitment is, and your willingness to stay in the principles. I don't accept money in return for this. That's not our model. We have a generosity model here at the Human Thriving Project, which gives what we have to give. And we'll make our needs known as they're known, and ask those who are committed to become members of this community and support us on an ongoing basis, if they're inspired and they have the capacity and the zhuzh to help us to continue to grow and touch the lives of those who are just willing to put in the time to make their well-being better. That's the only bar to entry. And being a good person while you're here with us in our spaces, following these, being accountable to these agreements, not perfect about them, but willing to admit that you may have stepped out and below the line somewhere. And to learn. We all get to fuck around and find out and learn from our mistakes in an environment where there's no shame, blame, or judgment on people who are just in a learning process. We commit to not leveling our violence at them through those modalities. Or at ourselves. So we're seeding this community right now, and we're calling in conscious leaders to come. High functioning people who who know that the next level for you is community. The next level is actually syncing up in what the Buddhists call a sangha, a group of together seekers, a group of those who are committed to the same path of awakening out of the illusion and into something more beautiful together through practice, not through belief, through daily practice. To come here and live on the land and help us to make something beautiful. And we're also inviting our global community and our sister communities to tune in, and let's together study conscious leadership. Let's together commit ourselves to the same set of values and run our own endemic experiments about how we live those values in our micro communities. Let's build a network and a mycelium of resilience wherever we establish ourselves in these fragile times. Let's knit the communities back together in harmony and wholeness through the active practice and embodiment of holistic reconciliation and conscious embodied leadership. That's our charge, fam. Ain't nobody else out here gonna do it for you. I gotta do it. I'm one. You know what revolution spelled backwards is? No, you lover. Revolution, oh, you gonna write it. Spelled backwards is no, you lover. No, it's you lover. That's the revolution. It's not them. Oh, it's you lover. So, let's love ourselves well together. If you're interested in joining, please send me a message and I will plug you in. And I so look forward to practicing with you. I'm going to do a deeper dive on each of the 15 agreements in further videos. Thank you. My name is Joshua Hathaway. We are the Human Thriving Project, here to found a culture rooted in holistic, regenerative love. Let's go, team. We got this.